faith to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. Oh God of creation, direct our noble cause and guide our leaders right. Help our youth the truth to know. In love and honesty to grow and live in just and truth. Where lofty heights attain to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign. Oh, shall reign.
Hello, good afternoon, Nigerians. Good evening, Africa. How are we today? And I'm super excited to be on to the 4th day of the AMI Nigerian Conference. It's been a fantastic day one, talking about the Nigeria we won, the Africa we won, talking about self-reliance. Fantastic guests that have been on the show with us. And today, in Nigeria, we're celebrating a special day. It's called the Children's Day in Nigeria. And a whole lot of articles, tweets, posts had gone out today celebrating the Nigerian child. The Project One organization had not forgotten this, and we have actually set out a date specifically today to discuss children affairs in Nigeria. We have wonderful guests we've invited to join us in considering what is there in the future of a Nigerian child. We have a former presidential aspirant of this country that will be joining us on the show. She's a woman. She's a mother of 5. And we consider her a very good person to bring to us today to talk about what if she had become president in 2019. What hope was she bringing for the Nigerian child? That is on one angle. At the same time, as a mother who is concerned and who has also had opportunity of raising her kids at different or in different places, we want to know what our experiences in other nations will be bringing forth to us in Nigeria as well. So today is going to be a fantastic ride. And joining me on the show will be Faith Jebai. Faith Jebai, I look forward to having you run the show all through while I sit at the background all through today. Thank you, Faith, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Bibi. Happy Children's Day, Nigeria.
Yeah.
And I hope today kids get to join up on the show to learn so much.
Sure. Talking about children in
on
Nigeria,
exactly what their rights are as children.
Yeah. Talking about children in Nigeria, I was going to ask you, how has been your own growing up years in Nigeria? Did you have all the fun? I know you all went to Ghana for some time, and we still have the mark of Ghana on you when you speak. So can you share a little about it for you? What was it like growing up as a
Yeah.
child in Nigeria?
Honestly, my childhood was very structured. I grew up in a very structured home. So, it was after I'd grown up that I started hearing things about cartoons and coming to America, Lion King. I just watched Lion King recently. All of those kind of things. Because I mean, from Monday to Friday was school. You come back, homework. You have a teacher, do your homework, siesta, you eat. Saturdays it was sex education, go out small, do small shopping. What are we buying? Small sweet chewing gum. You come back, do your homework. My dad checks your essay writing. So my growing up was very structured like that. So it's now that I'm catching up with the flair of childhood that I hear about when people say, oh, when we're growing up, they were watching. I don't know. I watched Coming to America like 2 years ago. Lion King, I
What?
think this year. Sisters Act, I think last year. And it was fun,
Okay, so I'll say
instead of us
kudos
watching
to
those
your dad.
shows.
He did a good job. And really, growing up in Nigeria, I'll just share a bit of my own experience. I grew up with teachers, and you know how
But
teachers are in Nigeria. My father was in the education sector, my mother was in the education sector, and just like you, homework, reading was the order of the day. We listened to news 9 p.m. The sleeping time
yeah,
would have been 7 p.m., but you must listen to NTA news at 9 and then take it for the first 30 minutes and you go to bed. And then in the morning, personally, I love joining my father to listen to BBC and VOA like 4 a.m. in the morning. So my growing up years was I was just getting a lot of information about different places. And but then there was a cut in our structured life in quote. And that cut exposed me to what happened on the street. And that kind of cut,
hmm,
I found myself feeling I have a responsibility to make things work. And one of the things we're talking about today, I wrote somewhere, I said there was a time when I was young that I am was amazed to her when they do, I think we lost fit for a moment. When they do, I think we lost fit for a moment. When they bring the mace to her, of course, it's so much we couldn't hit it all. I'll tell my mom, this mace will waste. Can I just go and sell on the street? And then she said, okay. Because I was so persistent. After a while, she allowed me. When I tell my husband, I sold maize in Accra. I sold, and then we cook in the house, and I see some bricklayers by the side, like building houses. And I'll tell my mom, this moi will
yeah,
waste. Can I sell it then? And you say, okay, go. Well, you know that some of
wow,
these things have been Nigerian children to a whole lot of abuse. There are so many things in place. But for me,
mm,
I probably expressed it to my parents, but I knew there was a need, and I was just trying to
yeah,
indirectly find a way to help them meet the need and make some provisions or more money available in the house. But then today we see a whole lot of children on the street still working. What's the future? What's the
mm,
hope for the Nigerian
mm,
child? And even sometimes one of the things that get to me recently, someone posted something on Instagram. It's about a small baby that had a lot of rashes on her body, and she said the woman didn't have money to take her to a clinic. And I was wondering
mm,
if it's a place where we have free healthcare for all Nigerian children, a mother do not need to go to hell in her mind, knowing that when I have this child, at least to a certain age, she can access free education and she has access to free healthcare. So there are quite a number of things that my heart always goes out to the Nigerian child. Now, I'm not a grown person. I survived all those periods, but there are countless people out there going through worse
very
situation that
true.
are through. Who is watching out for them? Before we
Mm,
bring in, we already have Mr. Taiwo Akinlami that will also be joining us today. That's another lawyer that I
yeah,
find that he's not speaking the law like, no, you're a thief, you're a criminal. It's all about the Nigerian child. And he's going to be joining us. He might be coming up before Madam Eunice. That's just an aside. But like I said, going back to my worries for the Nigerian child, who is watching out for the Nigerian child? This is a vulnerable set of people in this country. Sometimes when young Nigerians on Twitter complain that the government do not care about us, and then I will ask them, you that you have 2 legs and 2 hands, and you're complaining, and no one cares about you. What happens to the ones that cannot speak yet, or the ones that do not have
yeah,
means or the ability, the madman on the street? But then, most importantly, like we
yeah,
said, our focus today is on the Nigerian child. And I would say, maybe a voice to me today to say to the government, I have been advocating that the Ministry of Children Affairs ought to be created. We have over 31 million children in Nigeria. Merging that ministry with that of the women and the humanitarian issues generally, for me, does not cater for these people. Who knows when a
I
child is
agree.
born in Nigeria? You don't even know. Nobody knows anything. You give birth to your child, you're on your own. But in advanced countries, births are registered. Children are given stipends even up to the age of 18. So many things to talk about. So really, I think we'll be bringing in Taiwo Akinlami, and I'll be taking the backstage and having faith take us through children affairs. But really, don't forget I have a campaign, Ministry of Children
Yes,
Affairs.
you do. Yes, you
Thank you all.
do.
I'll be in later on the show. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, BB. Thank you so very much. I totally agree with everything that BB says. I feel like it's quite cumbersome to merge all of these things together, and children should be independently catered for and given, a ministry that sees for their needs, sees for their concerns, as the case may be. Joining us right now is no other person than Mr. Taiwo Akinlami, and just so you know, he is a child right activist. He is a public interest barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. He is self-motivated social worker and a social empowerment advocate. And it's such an honor and privilege that I would have him joining us on the show, on the segments, discussing children affairs this evening. I mean, it's Children's Day. There's no better day to talk about children. Mr. Taiwo Akinlami, are you there? Is Mr. Taiwo there? Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Taiwo is here, but I think it's
BB,
that I was expecting one or
a bit of
two
network.
network issues. We're trying to add him up, but then its line is not clicking. So really, let's keep talking about the
Okay,
Nigerian
yes,
child.
let's keep up with the discuss. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So, BB, one of the reasons why I appreciate what we do on Project One Productions, which is the parent organization of I Am a Nigerian Conference, basically, is the fact that while we're talking about mental sensitization, while we're talking about political enlightenment, while we're talking about the rights of children, it is very important for us as I Am a Nigerian Conference and Project One Productions that we start from the cradle. We understand that foundation is key. We understand that we have to catch the next generation, enlighten the next generation, enlighten the future of our country and Africa as a whole from the cradle. And that's why today's discuss is very, very important and sensitive. That parents, that individuals, that youth, and even children understand first off that they are not mistakes, they are not liabilities to any society, but then they are assets whenever they are born, wherever they find themselves, whenever they come, and however they come, and to whomever they come, as the case may be. So we want children to first of all understand who they are, their identity, and then while we sensitize ourselves as individuals, as communities, and even a nation, to be able to know how to cater, how to love, how to understand, and how to nurture children, as the case may be. Picking up from what BB was saying in terms of regards and concerns, basically, for children in Nigeria. I mean, it is no news. Let's pick an example. Say the Almajiri kids that we have, on the streets. Say the level of child trafficking. Say child abuse and rape. The issues are endless. And when we're talking about celebrating Children's Day, the big question beckons on our hearts. What is there to really celebrate? Should we? Is it about celebrating or about understanding where we've come as a nation and how much more we have to achieve and attain for the betterment of children in our organizations, in our families, in our homes, in our country, and even the continent as a whole? And I cannot wait for our guests to come up. Hopefully they come up really soon. So we'll be able to bounce ideas and, discuss and speak with each other. What is your role as an individual in making sure that children are truly celebrated, not for, the sakes of the day being, set aside for celebration, that children themselves feel that they are celebrated, that they look at society and see that systems and structures have been put in place, and they feel worth celebrating by the way institutions and policies have been set up to be able to make sure that they have an even playing ground with youth, with older people, in terms of education, in terms of policies, in terms of politics, in terms of talent, and so much more, as the case may be. I can see that we're trying to bring up one guest. Bibi, are you there with me, Bibi?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me? Faith, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
It's raining heavily here, and I think probably that's interfering with the network. But then just before we also have Mr. Taiwo to join us, I also noticed he's been trying to go in and come up again. I was going to mention one of those things. We started at Project One, and that was the Welcome in Nigeria baby package. I'm sure Faith, you're aware of that.
Yes,
I always share the story as what influenced that. I know that if you give birth to your baby in the United States, in a general hospital, your baby is wrapped in, most people, you probably have seen the pictures. I used to see the picture on Instagram before. I didn't know. I just noticed, okay, when you notice a baby wrapped in a particular, the American color, that child was born in America. It was a trend on Instagram, but I didn't even know where it came from until I had the experience firsthand. And I realized that right from the cradle, one of the things we preach, but this one is right from the wardrobe. As the baby is coming into the country, he is wrapped in the blanket with the American color. How else do you want to tell a child that you're welcome into this country? How else do you want to tell a child that the country is aware of your birth and the country is welcoming you? In a way, it forms a sense of how do I call it, of identification. You can identify with that. You can say, oh, this is my country. And then you see an American go, I'm an American citizen. When we were young, there was another thing they used to tell us, that if an American is caught up in a place, that the American government will do everything. They will send the blue seal to come and get their citizens. Now, take for example, when COVID happened in Nigeria, they sent emails to all their citizens all over the world. Do not panic. Even when there was total lockdown, the United States of America made aircraft available for their citizens to evacuate them out of Nigeria. Luckily and fantastically, Nigerian has been doing quite well in trying to bring home their children who are at any time or the other stranded in other countries, and that's very laudable. Well, like I'm trying to say, we need to start from when a child is born. When we ask that question, what do you want to do for your community? We should also ask, what is my community doing for me? We need to have a strong databases that takes account of every single child that is born into Nigeria. You can campaign child spacing. You can campaign do not have children you cannot cater for. But it is the responsibility of the government to apportion the resources of a nation across every Nigerian. When we started the campaign, I'm a Nigerian, that's one of the things we're trying to say. Every single Nigerian counts, irrespective of how you were born. Irrespective, the Constitution says no child will be called, in quotes, illegitimate by reason of that child's birth. Every child should be accounted for. And I believe that we are surely going to get there in a matter of time. Mr. Taiwo Akinlami, I am so pleased to have you on board today. Welcome to the Army Nigerian Society.
It's my pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so
much for having me.
Thank you. You're a child rights activist. I just want to say, how did you get here? What inspired this?
That's a long story. I mean, that's a story it's a symposium discussion. But if I can just get into it briefly, I had a very rough childhood. I often tell people that two things can happen to a child: is either you are raised or erased. So I was erased. I was not raised, and so I suffered all kinds of abuse. There are 4 ways by which a child can be abused: physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and neglect. I suffered all of them. And so my life was in a big mess. Then at age 27, I became a Christian. And I began to recognize that there was something missing in how I was raised. And I realized that the people who raised me were not evil people. They were just people that lacked knowledge. Knowledge is what to do with children. They lack skills. Skill is how to do it. They lack fortitude. That is attitude. Fortitude is the strength to do that which you know you should do. They lack all of this. When you lack all of this, you're going to make a shipwreck of the life of children, no matter how good your intentions are. So my parents made those fundamental mistakes, and that produced and erased me. So from age 27, I began to erase myself. So my autobiography is titled "Once Erased, Now Raised." And so that's how I got into what I'm doing. I realized that parents need education, they need skill, they need knowledge, they need attitude, and those things are not gifts of nature. There are things we have to communicate, there are things we have to inculcate, and basically that is why I found myself doing this since 1997. I was called to the Nigerian bar 23 years ago, and this has been my commitment over the years.
Great, sir. Great. Welcome once again to the show. I love the fact that you say knowledge is very important, because apparently if you know better, you will do better. So yes. I love the fact that you're saying that parents need to be taught, parents need to be sensitized, they need knowledge to be able to, do better in respect to child rearing, in respect to children rights and all of that. So I'd quickly ask a question, sir. The Nigerian child is the hope of the future. What hope is there really for the Nigerian child? You understand the terrain we live in, you understand the culture, the environment, the resources. What would you say is really the hope for the Nigerian child?
That's a depressing question. Very depressing. When I talk about these things about the Nigerian child, I'm moved to tears, because this is a country where 13.5 million children are out of school. In the last government in Nigeria, there were 10 million. Today it has become 13.5. This is a country where majority of children don't have access to shelter, no access to health, good health, to food, nutrition. Now, this is a country where we have the largest number of poorest people in the world. 87 point something million Nigerians are poor, and they live on less than $1.9 per day. So now you now add COVID-19 to it. These people live and they end early, they end daily. Now for days they've not been able to go out. Even that $1.9 per day that they earn daily, they have not been able to earn. So you find that these parents are produced, and they're in the majority. They're in the majority. So I keep saying that Nigeria and most African countries do not have underprivileged children. You see, we keep saying the underprivileged, the underprivileged. In my work, I don't use such word. I don't use the word underprivileged, because by reason of oppression, Nigeria and most African countries do not have underprivileged children. What we have are the abused, the reduced, the hewers of wood and drawers of water, the people that Franz Fanon called the wretched of the earth. That's what we have. Because when you say underprivileged, it connotes that all their rights have been met. It is privilege that they are not given. That's why they are underprivileged. For you to be underprivileged, it means your rights have been met. So right to education, right to health, right to shelter, right to good food, all of these should have been met. Now, what is a privilege? Privilege are luxuries of life that is not necessary for you to be a human being. Rights are moral and legal entitlement. Without those things, you are not a human being. You are not different from a goat. You are not different from a rat. You are not different from a chimpanzee. You are not different from a hyena. You are not different from a lion. You are not different from a goat. When you don't have right, you don't know where the next meal is coming from. You don't have a place to lay your head. Even some goats have a place to lay their heads in the zoo. Even some lions have a place to lay their heads in the zoo. The Nigerian child, in majority, do not have a place to lay their heads. So what they are denied of are rights. are not privileges. Let me give you another example. For example, when you take education, now many Nigerian children are not in school. Those who are in school are not in a proper school. Now, it is only in a country like Nigeria that private education is an alternative to public education. Public education is supposed to be available to everybody. In a country like Finland, the investment of private sector in education is almost zero, because the country understands for us to create a level playing field, for people to develop, for people to grow, education is a common, is an essential commodity that must be available to everybody. In 1965, Singapore got their independence. The only thing natural in Singapore are the people of Singapore. Singapore does not have any natural resources, but God blessed them with a man called Lee Kuan Yew. Lee Kuan Yew focused on human capacity development. 30 years down the line, Singapore became a first world country. Now, Singapore got her independence 5 years after Nigeria got our own independence. So you see, the challenge we are dealing with is that we are yet to recognize what the real issues are about our children. We are yet to recognize that as a nation and as a continent, we are changing our children. And when we change our children, we are changing our future. Because you see, Mandela said, there's no clearer revelation of the soul of a society than how it treats its children. When you want to see the future of a nation, when you want to see the soul of a nation, when you want to see the heartbeat of a nation, look at how we treat our children. And this is a crisis we are going to face. Now, there are children in this country who are not citizens of this country. They are born in Magodo. They are children of people in Magodo, in Banana Island, in Asokoro, in all of these places, wherever they are called. These children have double citizenship, dual citizenship. Most of them are not born in Nigeria. They are in Nigeria, but not of Nigeria. The parents have enough sense to think that this country, the way it's going, I cannot put all the eggs of the destiny of my child in this country. So when they are pregnant, some people look for the money. They find their way to Ghana. That's a joke. They find their way to Canada. They find their way to the UK. They find their way to the Ireland. They find their way to the US so that they can just deliver there and bring the child back home. So the child is an American citizen and a Nigerian citizen. Now, this is the point. Now, those children, they are growing up with the children of walls of wood and draughts of water. With the children in Afari Ogun, nursery and primary school, even hear the name, Afari Ogun. With children in Ajangbadi secondary school, look at it, Ajangbadi. Can you compare that to Grange, to Green Springs? But look at Ajangbadi, look at the name set. So all the children are growing up together. But this is the crisis. The children who have not been fed, the children who have been neglected, they are the ones that will become 1 million boys in Lagos. They are the ones that will become Awawa boys in Lagos. They are the ones that will become a Besu boy in the south. They are the ones that will become a Numanjiri in the north. The nation who does not care for a section of his children is sitting on a keg of gunpowder. And whether we like it or not, you cannot cheat nature, because we use that for when we want to go to the toilet. But nature, you see, nature is garbage in, garbage out. What you give to nature, nature gives back to you. I'm a Yoruba man. Yoruba says, whatever stone you throw to the, what is up there? What is, I don't even understand. God bless you, palm tree. Now, whatever stone you throw to the palm tree is the stone that is coming back to you. Your investment in your children is going to come back to you heavily. And that is why I must say, the nations of the future focus on their children. When you go to the US, for example, when you go to Finland, when you go to Norway, in Norway, prisons don't have fence. In Norway, there's no death sentence. There's no life imprisonment. In Iceland, all of these countries, one thing marks them out, how they cater for their children. In those countries, children are #1 citizens. In those countries, the country is working to serve their children. That is why if anybody below 18 years old enter a public transport in America, the person does not pay. That is why the children of illegal immigrants who are in America, America is training them in school. Because America understands that if you don't train these children are going to become menace to our own children that we are protecting. So once you get into America, you are educated because it is called wise benevolence. It is wise benevolence to say that it's not that America is Father Christmas. It's just that they know if we neglect these children, they're going to become terror to our children. But what do we have today? We have a country that is dichotomized. You have people in the frustrated citizenship level. You have people in the separated citizenship level. So you have heroes of good draws of water who don't know where the next meal is coming from. And the government is not talking about family planning. So you go to a place called Ajebula in Lagos State, for example. You find a 12-room apartment where an average of 8 children are living in one room. That's 8 times 12. 1 bedroom, 1 toilet, 1 kitchen. They go to school.
Mr. Kilami, sorry, I might have to cut you in there because if you allow you to keep talking, I'm sure you pour out all that is on your mind about the Nigerian child. And I so can feel the vibes. I know you've been a child activist for a while and you see all those things firsthand. These are some of the things we've experienced when we go to the communities, when we go into the rural areas, when you go into the IDP camps. You're wondering, what's the future? You know, I tell someone, I don't believe in luck. I'm also a Christian. I believe in favor. But then the point is, sometimes I tell myself, you know, you've just been lucky. I wasn't born in quotes or raised with a silver spoon, but I have put steps and things in place because I'm also thinking about what's the future for my child. I'm trying to put that, but there are some people who do not have the privilege that I have today, who do not, you know, one of those funny things is I work on a daily basis and I have people tell me this, Bisayo, you're not hungry for wealth. And you won't understand. Let me say this to you. Project One is self-funded, not for anything, but the whole idea is this. With whatever I earn, I grew up being a content person. With what I have, I want to share to the society. I want somebody's life to get better. I want other people's children to go to school. So we started a project recently in Project One called Project One ISR, because I realized that this is simply just individual social responsibility. But there are quite a number of Nigerians, really, like you said, that do not have access to some of these things that some of us have been able to do for our children. And that is why we have today's topic, Children Affairs. What is the hope for the Nigerian child? I'm taking your perspective, but I can't wait to hear from Mrs. Eunice, who has also had the privilege of being to different countries of the world to share her own experience, what she's seen with children in other nations, and how she thinks that we can have this country get better. We'll still be bringing you Mr. Tawa Kinlami. Please do not go to give your final word to Nigeria. But I'm going to be adding Madam Eunice to this discussion. Now, there's something I find very, very interesting about her. She is and I love to say this, that was the first thing that caught my attention. She's a mother of 5. So when she came out that she was contesting for the presidency of Nigeria, I was like, fantastic. Who is this woman? It takes energy. It takes a whole lot of guts. Now, I could not, because sometimes one of the problems with Nigeria is, do we have leaders that have that mind for the people? Do we have leaders who are concerned about what happens to the last of their people, that have a heart for the people, that are concerned about every of their citizens? Every, and when I say every, that's one of the things I always say, data is important. So when I find a mother that wants to run for presidency, I'm like, good, okay, that's something to really consider, because we need people who can empathize, who can identify, and who can chart a way forward. So, Madam Eunice, you're welcome to I'm a Nigerian Conference Day 4 called the Children Affairs. I can't wait to get some of your responses to Mr. Taiwo Akinlami. Can we have you tell us a few minutes about yourself? What made you want to become a president?
Everybody, I hope you know me as Eunice. Eunice Asejire is my name. Why did I want to be president? Of course, like you rightly said, Nigeria needs people who do care for us, everybody, no matter what part of the country you're from. We need people that can see goodness of Nigeria, whether you're from the north or south, and wherever you're from. the fact that you're Nigerian makes you worthy of attention and care. So I thought, okay, we lack that in the leaders we have. At least most of them appear to be mostly interested in their own people, particular interests they went into fight most of the time, fight for rather, most of the time personal interest. So I thought, okay, they've reduced the age. It was no longer 30, 40 years old for running for presidency. It was then 35. So I thought, okay, this is a good opportunity. And we didn't have anybody who was really keen to run under our party, that's the National Interest Party, which I founded with some of my colleagues from law school. So we thought, okay, let's go. It was our and we take it from today. And now let's next to it, 2023, and getting into that plan. So that's it. I don't really want to spend many, many lots of wherever we are from. I just really felt my voice is going to be able to carry for everybody, no matter what I'm where I need to do from this my experience and no, help me help what is there.
Okay, I think we lost Faith there. The network today, like I said, had been a bit crappy. So fantastic knowing so much about what inspired, and I'm happy to also have you say it on Project One platform. Now, I find a line of the Nigerian accent interesting. They said, "In love and honesty to grow." In love and honesty to grow. Who are the role models? Who is growing up? Who is influencing the Nigerian child today? The child on the street. Who are their role models? And how can Nigerian children be greatly influenced by meaningful adults? What are the things we need to do to create an atmosphere that really influence more Nigerian children positively towards a better Nigeria in the future?
Unfortunately, we don't have uh, so many great leaders in Nigeria, so our children are looking up to the wrongest set of people to take a key from about how to live their life. And then we already, unfortunately, have this kind of trophy thing that is the race now, where you're seeing kinds of people showcasing expensive cars and expensive. So we're having our children growing in a system where they are getting the wrong ideas. Everybody's taking everybody drinks and flying private jets and everything. A lot of the children are not realizing that they can actually be very happy with, like whatever it is you're earning, you can find happiness in that, and you don't need this extreme show of wealth or I don't know display. Like it's a huge problem for me because people displaying houses in gold and cars in villages and all sorts of things. Then you see comedians and the actors scared about how to solve some or all of these problems. They're going to just keep complaining and will not be able to do anything about it.
Okay, that's a fantastic one, and I must say that we can't wait to have more people like you in government, in governance, caring for Nigerians, and I'm sure that a lot of people will have so much to learn from you. And I'm going to ask this question. I hope Mr. Taiwo can also join us on this. What is the way forward? You know, there's so many things you've seen, Mr. Taiwo Akinlami. What is the way forward? What's the next thing? Sometimes I had to start taking courses in relations. I studied law as my first program. And of course, I campaign about you need to have a change, but sometimes the words are not enough. We need to put policy in place. We need to make changes. So I started studying about policy. I started studying about children. So I'm going to first ask Mr. Taiwo, then over to Mrs. Eunice to tell us what's the way forward. How do we make the life of a Nigerian child better than it is already? Mr. Taiwo, please.
Well, the way forward is simple, but it's not simple. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Freedom comes by struggle. I love policies. I work on policies for schools, for child focus organization, for the British Council, for UNICEF, for SOS Students Village. One thing I've come to know that a policy is not going to work until it becomes a statement of will, backed up by the value system of the people and what we call public will. Public will must be galvanized. It must be mobilized in a particular direction. There's no model in the world where rights are delivered on a platter of gold. I have not studied one. I have not seen one where people just wake up and government says, or the oppressor says, you are free. No. Even slave trade, the slaves could not fight for themselves. But the likes of William Wilberforce and the rest of them were fighting, holding the British Parliament up, saying that they needed to stop slave trade. Me Too movement was not a tea party that people just sat down and said, okay, we don't want men that are in power or men that have authority, men that are influential to stop oppressing women. It was not a tea party, it was not a conversation. That conversation galvanized into a movement. Before surviving R. Kelly, everybody thought R. Kelly was untouchable but some people started a movement. That movement galvanized into action, and that action is sweeping through America today. When you look at the struggle of Martin Luther King and all of these people. So my point is this: if we're interested in the fate of the Nigerian child, we must move beyond policy. Policy is important, it's very critical. But whatever policy that is not backed up by the will of the people, the value system of the people, the public will of the people, is going to remain in the cooler. Even when government says we have adopted the policy. Now, let me give you a quick example. In 2003, how was the Child Rights Act promulgated? The Child Rights Act was sponsored by UNICEF. The man who worked on the Child Rights and the committee, they were funded by UNICEF. So the Child Rights Act was first thrown out by the National Assembly. UNICEF mobilized children, and we went back to the National Assembly. That Child Rights Act was passed. But you see, Child Rights Act has been passed in 2003. It has not witnessed another amendment. Even in Lagos State, the Child Rights Law in Lagos State that was passed in 2007 has witnessed 2 amendments. It was amended in 2015. It's going to another amendment now. So the point I'm trying to make is that law is not enough. We now have Child Rights Act. It has defined who a child is. How come the core states in the north have not domesticated that? So we need to be on the field. We need a level of advocacy. We need to sensitize people. People need to begin a peaceful movement, asking government critical questions and holding government by the jugular, asking that if you don't do this, we are going to do this. Not by taking to arms, I don't support arms. Not by breaking bottles, I don't support breaking of bottles. But in organizing ourselves and not, power does not shift except for superior power. So power is not a tea party. Representing the right of children is not a tea party. I've now lost confidence in the fact that I can be talking about children in Nigeria without talking about the state of the nation. So from the beginning of this year in particular, I started to interest myself in the state of the nation. Before now, I've been interested in the state of the Nigerian child, but I've come to recognize the Nigerian child is living here. The policies of government affect the Nigerian child. The Nigerian child is going to get better if we that want to protect him or her are not getting better, and if government is not getting right. And government is not going to get it right except we struggle. So freedom comes by struggle. By struggle, by struggle. That's what the song is. Freedom comes by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come.
Is this man Suarez brother?
Freedom. Okay. I'm going to take that song. Thank you sincerely. That's an high opening statement. And I love what Jeremiah Babalaye has said. The public policy of the people is the final say. That is, everybody has to be on board. And I picked something from what you said. The real people who have this mind, really, like I said to Madam Eunice, have to be interested in the state of the nation. Otherwise, we would not have the kind of leaders that can make this thing come true. Because sometimes it just becomes like stereotype. They're just doing the same thing, and you're wondering, are these people chatting it? Because I said during I said, no, anybody that wants to lead Nigeria that has not read the book of From First World to Third World, that of Singapore, you need to read that book. So you understand how nations evolve. You need to study. We need to put our leaders through a whole lot of debates to know that, okay, you already understand what you are meant to do. You know, over the times in the past, we used to have like they'll say we have national conference, national confab. I'm really wondering sometimes, what do people go there to do? Are they
to collect money?
Talking about what move this nation? Are they concerned? Is it a matter of urgency? Do you feel like your life depends on this? We need leaders who see leaders. My life depends on this. This nation has to work. I love what happened in COVID-19, and all of us were shut in. At least those of us who were in Nigeria at the time that it happened, all of us were shut in. There was nowhere to go. Even if it was for a short period, it sent messages to some people. So, Madam Eunice, I would ask you again. I understand the struggle part. Do you have an idea of what should be our next step to make sure that the future of the Nigerian child is secured more than it is as of today?
Whereas the struggle part is interesting, I do believe that the best way to struggle is to put better people in government, like to do what we need to do to get power and put it in the hands of people who are much less self-centered than the people we see in government today. And we need to worry about empowering our women, because at the end of the day, most of our children get their primary care from their mothers. Sometimes we do have fathers who are the primary caregivers, and sometimes we do have guardians and everything. But we need to empower these people so much more, because it's only through them that these children are going to get the benefits of the change that we are proposing, or whatever movement to do, or whatever governance movements are able to put together. So we need to empower our people a lot more. And I'm not one of those who wait for government, because my experience so far, I mean, I'm looking at it, and our government just keeps saying, so it's time for us individuals to come together and start doing things, taking away a lot of this expectation from us of the government and putting it on ourselves, seeing it as our own responsibility to make sure that the next person has a job, and make sure that that next person is able to employ another person, or make sure there are more entrepreneurs doing things, and interconnect ourselves in such a way that we're helping each other's businesses, and we're helping ourselves make money, and then helping ourselves help the children, whether we have our own or whether we have to help the children. I don't know. I no longer lean towards government, because especially now that we don't have oil anymore, all the people we have in government rely on oil. No matter how educated they are, no matter how exposed they are, somehow they keep relying on oil. And like Reggie said, COVID-19 has come and it's sitting behind the serious problem for us. There is no oil to sell. There's no money coming from oil. So everybody will start thinking on their feet now, including us outside government. We need to start worrying. How are we going to make sure more people start to work as their own bosses so that they can now start employing other people that can now start making money internally somehow. We need to grow the economy, we need to grow the country somehow without or with the government. Movements that would change things, amazing, but difficult. So people are not going to go out there and start protesting and making noise on empty stomach. So the way to fight this, as far as I'm concerned, is to figure out how to empower more of us. Some of us with money, put it together, find people who are doing small businesses, put your money in their businesses, become their partners, help them do those businesses. You make small money, yes, but what you are doing is making sure that the next man is also making money, who will be employing one or two or three people in the barber salon or in the school or in whatever it is the business is doing. And then those people are also feeding other people. So these children are getting fed by the efforts that we and you are putting together. We're no longer looking at government or asking for anything. As long as they do start making policies that shut down our businesses, we'll be able to making the small money we are making, feeding our children and other people's children, and getting ourselves free from the shackles of poverty. Because as long as we are poor, they will come back every 4 years and give us 5K, 4K, 2K, or whatever, and we go to them. Well, when we take away that poverty, when we make sure that all of us have seconds of young people, whatever they are, they're putting money in their small businesses, they're making money, they're remitting something to us, we're putting that to other people. Before you know it, we free that country. And once we free the country from this poverty, that is the main issue. Government cannot come unless it's government that will choose. So they won't be able to give us price or pocket or whatever, and then demand that we go for the food and choosing or not. Then we'll be able to tell them no. We're going with somebody we know who has been there for the past 4 or 5 or 10 or 15 years and has shown that he cares about us. So this is how I see us doing this, and a lot of us have already started this at NIC, making sure we are putting money in everybody's businesses, making sure we are putting money and our time in helping ourselves, because at the end of the day, it is us that will this country, and the government will not help us.
Thank you so much, Madam Eunice. I'll take that as one of your of the lines you're leaving to Nigerians today, and it tallies with what we talked about yesterday: self-reliance. We need to move to that stage where we're financially, in quote, separated or independent from every form of oppression or every form of influence that can take away our freedom. And I hope that the message goes out to Nigerians today, as we started on Twitter this morning, to say that I am a Nigerian. Let every child grow up knowing that they are part of this country. So when you turn 18, empower yourself with a tool to vote. Empower yourself with the laws and the provisions that make ways for you to be voted for, not just to vote. Every Nigerian child should grow up with a mind that I can vote and I can be voted for. It's not just most of us just go, oh, I can vote. Now, I am a Nigerian means every single one of us counts. So we're going to raise our children to know that this country is ours and everybody should get involved. And we need to address that. I'm taking some summaries from what you said, Madam Eunice. We need to address the issue of poverty to make sure that we are free from the things that have held us back. It's been a fantastic time having you with us today, Madam. We hope when we call on you next time, you would have the time to be with us today. So thank you so much. And while I bring Mr. Taiwo in for his own last statements.
Madam Mini said, am I your rest brother? No. I'm just speaking, you see, when you're in the third word is not the creation of God. God did not create any nation as third world. If we say America got their independence 250 years, 300 years ago, what about Singapore here, 1965? Singapore is younger than us. It has moved from third world to first world. So we are not too young to be a first world nation. What I said us back is the problem is not even with government, because the people who become government, they come from us. So the problem is not with government. I'm not pointing fingers to say government is our problem. We are the problem. And the way we are the problem is that we have failed to recognize that we need a level of consciousness to birth a nation that our children can be proud of. Until we begin to develop ourselves in that regard, if we continue this way of everyone to himself, God for us all, there's no society that will develop like that. Everybody's problem must become everybody's problem. I don't know if I make sense. So my last word to you today, the way you can be a Nigerian or an African is to be interested in your brother. Be your brother's keeper. Be interested when the police are oppressing your brother. Be interested in the state of affairs of this nation. Start a conversation like I'm a Nigerian is doing. A conversation that is meaningful, a conversation that is healthy, a conversation that is helpful, a conversation that is empathetic, a conversation that is inspirational, driving us in the direction of good. Because as someone said, evil does not have power over good, but good must be active. And the hottest place in hell must be reserved for those who keep quiet in the time of moral crisis. We cannot keep quiet anymore. We have to do more of these kind of programs. We have to galvanize ourselves. We don't have to agonize. We have to organize so that we can begin to speak truth to power, and power can begin to recognize that the citizens are awake, they are alive, and they are well, and they are able to wrestle their rights out of the hands of the oppressors.
Wow. Thank you so very much, Mr. Taiwo. Profound words right there. Thank you so very much. It's been an honor and privilege having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Madam Eunice, thank you so very much. Sir?
What country are you from? Are you a Nigerian?
I am a Nigerian, and I'm proud to be a Nigerian, sir.
But are you based in Nigeria?
Yes, I reside in this country.
Okay.
I'm in Abuja at the moment. Yes, sir. I reside in this country.
You speak like someone who resides in the overseas, in the abroad.
Mr. Tao, permit me to make fun of Faith. The first time I met Faith, I always tell that story. The second time I'm saying it on this conference. So I had the first conversation with her. I said, okay, are you in Nigerian? Because I think she was having a conversation. I must do this. I must do that. I was like, are you in Nigeria? And she said, yes, I'm a Nigerian, full-blooded.
Full-blooded.
So blooded. In Nigeria, I said in Nigeria we call it blood.
Yes.
It's only Ghana people that say blooded.
Okay, full-blooded. Full-blooded.
It's nice meeting you, madam. You speak so well.
Yeah, very well. Thank
you
you
so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Yeah. Have
Bye.
a great evening. Thank you so much, Faith.
Thank you.
How are you, Faith? Hope you're not tired of my story. I won't get tired of that story.
No, it's fine. It's fine. This evening has been highly insightful. I love the passion. I love the honesty. I love the wealth of experience and the information that we've all had this evening. And I mean, all of us, beyond being part of these discussions, we should be actively involved in living out the discussions. And I think that is very important. We have a lot of talk everywhere. Everybody's saying this, everybody's saying that, everybody has an opinion. But beyond being part of these discussions, you yourself live out these discussions. And I mean, it's been a wonderful evening.
Yeah, so really our voice goes out to the Nigerian child to say happy celebration, happy Children's Day. We hope we become better models to you. And there was a video, I think it's going to come up right now. There's a church speaker that is meant to join us. We hope we'll still be able to take her. But then in the absence of that, there is a video of a time we had at Project One. There's this monthly hangout called Read It and Learn. And one of the major things we're saying out there is the responsibility is now on you and I. You know, when you go on Twitter today, someone said, I'm not proud of, I can't be proud of Nigeria. Nigeria has disappointed me. I said, well, the more reason why you need to make sure Nigeria does not disappoint the children coming after you. Now, the responsibility is now on us to make sure that we make this country a better place. If Joseph is ready, you can let us have the video and then we'll close up this whole session. Basically, what we do at Project One, we're trying to encourage Nigerians to be proud of who they are, where they're from. And I always say it, what we do at Project One is not limited to Nigerians in Nigeria. It's all about Nigerians all over the world. And I love the national anthem. They told us that we were the leaders of tomorrow. But then maybe that was a lie. But at my age, I'm willing to tell children like this that they are the leaders of tomorrow. But I'm going to make it happen. I'm putting upon myself as a responsibility to make sure that this coming generation meets a better country. And that is where you stand. It's enough to complain. We can't keep complaining. No, they say we are the leaders. No, they refuse to deliver the future to us. Now you are in the future. It is now your responsibility to make sure that you make this place a better place, even for those coming behind you. Then, in their own time, when they're singing the labors of our heroes past, it will be the you of today they will be referring to. Thank you,
Very
guys.
true.
It's been a wonderful night. And we see you tomorrow, where we'll bring the kings and monarchs to the Army Nigerian platform. We also want to know what are they doing in their communities. What are your roles as a king to ensure that Nigerians have the right access to the things that would grow this country. And so tomorrow, join us as we bring on board a king in Nigeria talking to us about our community. Until then, please have a beautiful evening.
God bless you.